Hello and welcome. I'd like to do a presentation entitled Formation of the New Personality in the Death-Life Realm. This is based on some excerpts from About Fluidal Energy, respectively Fluidal Powers and Other Things by Billy Edward Albert Meyer. Before we go into this presentation, I'd like to do a couple of introductory slides. The creation part piece, or the spirit form within the human being, needs to evolve. It creates the overall consciousness block in the fine material realm. The task of the overall consciousness block is to create the consciousness block. What is the consciousness block? The ego, the I, represents the personality, respectively the material consciousness. It independently makes perceptions, researches, and explores things and facts, consciously learns and processes results. In each life, there is a new personality, new ego, new material consciousness. Therefore, it incarnates. Whereas the spirit form, or the creation energy part piece, reincarnates. The spirit is the factor which breathes the life into every life form. This is not a form in and of itself, as the human being is a form, or an animal, or anything else, but rather the spirit form is simply a formless energy. He, she must be instructed with regard to the effective truth, and it must be made understandable to him, her, that it is not the spirit in the human being which brings forth the actual evolution, but rather the consciousness, whilst the spirit is only that factor which, through an impulsion, drives the material consciousness forward towards the evolution, and which takes up the knowledge and the wisdom, stores everything, and one day carries the entire evolutive potential into the creation. In its otherworldly realm, the spirit form, or the creation energy part piece, works on all knowledge, love, and wisdom that accrues from the consciousness, in order to thereby accumulate its own knowledge as well as the wisdom and love. This means that the spirit form accumulates its spiritual, creational energies and thereby evolves. So when the brain ceases, that is when the human being dies, and that is also the moment when both the creation energy part piece and the consciousness block escape to their respective fine material realms. The spirit form escapes from the deceased material body together with the consciousness block, both of which enter into an otherworldly realm that is specifically assigned to each of them. The overall consciousness block begins to work out the entirety of that which is still unworked out from the current life in the shortest time, which only takes seconds, in order to then immediately dissolve the old personality and to create a new personality from this released energy. This double process of dissolving and the new creation of a personality and its consciousness is therefore an extremely short process, which, according to human understanding, takes only a few moments. It must be clear, however, that the overall consciousness block does not have to work on and work out the entire lived through life with all the bells and whistles again, but rather only all the unworked out things. Within this, in a short time, which can last only seconds or at the most a few minutes, according to each case, Everything still unworked out from the current life of the personality is worked on and worked out by the overall consciousness block, after which the old personality is dissolved and transformed into pure energy by the overall consciousness block. During the working out process, naturally, all that which is still being worked on and worked out is stored in the storage banks. The working out speed of the overall consciousness block moves at the heights of the speed of creation, and so therefore with 10 to the power 7,000 times the speed of light. From the pure energy proceeding from the dissolved old personality, the overall consciousness block creates a new material consciousness with a new personality and new ego. This new personality must then, through the power of the overall consciousness block, work on and work out all the formerly stored information from the storage bank of the consciousness block, through which the foundation of the new personality is first created. This means that through the overall consciousness block, only the empty shell of the personality is created, after which only through the working on of all necessary impulses from the storage bank of the overall consciousness block, the actual foundation and the individuality of the personality are formed, and thereby the comprehensive personality arises. What then takes very much longer is the working on process and working out process, which the new personality created by the overall consciousness block has to go through. This process, in the normal case, takes many years, in which case this is around 1/3 longer than the former lifespan. So if a person lived to be 100 years old, then the time spent in the death-life realm building up the next personality is 152 years. Or if the person lived to be 60 years old, then it would be roughly or approximately 90 years. A question in the book is as follows. If now someone simply incarnates too early, what happens if someone incarnates simply too early? In other words, doesn't go through the full length processing length? Billy answers, then the respective human being simply does not have everything completely in him or her. Respectively, he, she has not yet fully worked out and taken in all the essence of all knowledge stored in the storage banks of the overall consciousness block. This new personality can then, under circumstances, be disturbed in a consciousness-based manner, if it is not fully completed in the sense that it has not yet worked out, respectively taken up everything necessary in the other worldly realm for its new life, for it was on the other side for too little time. The subconscious of the new personality, however, nevertheless functions completely normally. The personality has to work on and work out everything and anything that has been stored in the storage banks over all reincarnations of the spirit form, and the consciousness block in terms of impulse-based information in the storage banks. Thereby, the new personality creates for itself the capability and possibility, on the one hand, to carry on in an evolution-based manner in the new life at the point where the old dissolved personality has come to an end. And on the other hand, the capability that the new personality can integrate itself into the new life in every wise is thereby also built up. That alone is already necessary because the overall progress in the world and amongst the human beings does not stand still in every wise, but rather continues to advance steadily. Hence, every new personality must be progressed in the subconsciousness to such an extent that it can keep in step with the progress of the world and the human beings. This is, however, only possible through the fact that the new personality, during its stay in the other world, in the overall consciousness block, works on and works out all that which has been learnt and all knowledge from all former lives of its old personalities, and thus is thereby then also in permanent connection with the storage banks in the current life. So I'm assuming that would be the planetary storage banks. So it's kind of monitoring the changes that are occurring, thereby an adjustment to the new time and to all the progress which has taken place on the material world occurs. And this process takes place while the newly created personality is still residing in the overall consciousness block in its otherworldly realm and works on and worked out everything. If this were not the case, then the new personality would stand fully unprepared in a world and in every wise amongst far progressed human beings to whom she would not be able to adjust, and consequently would be disturbed in a consciousness-based manner to the extent that she would be ripe for the madhouse. The process of the programming of the new personality with all the necessary things of the previous lives of all former personalities then takes a very long time. What is stored in the storage banks of the overall consciousness block, in essence, respectively, wisdom of all knowledge from former lives, is then therefore transferred to the new personality, in which the entirety is stored in the subconsciousness block, and from this, at a suitable opportunity, penetrates as information into the consciousness. Thereby, all knowledge is unconsciously used to fulfill the consciousness evolution, in which case, however, no conscious but rather only unconscious and subconscious memories of the existence of former personalities and their knowledge, etc., are given. When through the overall consciousness block, the new consciousness, respectively the new consciousness block, is created together with the new personality and the ego, then at the same time also the creation of the subconsciousness takes place. In the subconsciousness, always only the quintessence of all facts of all former lives is stored, while the entire totality of all facts of all former lives is held in the storage banks. Therefore, the subconsciousness does not completely have all cognizances in the manner that these are stored in the storage banks, but rather it only includes the most important information, simply the quintessence. If decisive impulses from the consciousness reach into the subconsciousness, then this brings forth a corresponding connection to the storage banks, and from these withdrawals the necessary information, which is then passed on to the consciousness as an inspiration of the subconsciousness. Only in this way, through the impulses from the consciousness, is the subconsciousness activated and brings forth a connection to the storage banks in order to obtain information in an impulse-based manner and to pass this on to the consciousness. Only the new working through process and the transfer and absorption of the quintessence facts of all former lives into the subconsciousness then takes a very long time. The whole thing thereby happens in the death life in the overall consciousness block, and therefore long before the spirit form or creation energy part piece can reincarnate again, and the new consciousness block incarnate afresh into a new body, respectively embryo, in which case the new consciousness, its subconsciousness, and the new personality then incarnate together with these. And finally, everything created in the life of the former personality, as for example, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the love, is retained in the planetary storage banks, as well as those of the overall consciousness block, and is never lost anymore. Thereby, it is given that the new personality does not have to start the new life again at a completely null state of knowledge, wisdom, and love, because the progress is found at the point where the old personality has ended in the state of the love, the knowledge, and the wisdom. Therefore, none of these values are lost, because beginning with the last evolution state of the last personality, the new personality continues to go on learning and evolving in every wise. All knowledge, all wisdom, and love, etc., from the evolution state of the former life penetrate subconsciously and unconsciously into the new personality, through which these, together with everything new that is learned, are connected by the human being and makes the further evolution possible. Thank you.